This is Alliance on the Move. It is June 7th, and we are here, and we're glad to have you with us, whether you're joining us through DTV Channel 8 or on any of the social media platforms. It is always such a privilege, such an honor to be with you. Our program this evening, we're hoping to touch on a few areas, time permitting. We want to look at the Alliance for Change in government, what we will be doing for you. And I have with me the leader of the party, Mr. Nigel Hughes, chairman of the Alliance for Change, Mr. David Patterson, and from our youth arm, Mr. Delon Mohammed. Guys, thank you for coming out this evening, for sharing an hour or so with me and with our viewers. I
My
know that we
pleasure.
have a lot of exciting plans in place when we look at education, when we look at infrastructure, the oil and gas sector, health. There is so much to discuss. We clearly cannot discuss all of it this evening. But Mr. Patterson, I want to start with you. I think you have been one of the more successful ministers while we were in government, 2015, 2020. And I know that you're just anxious for us to get back into government, for you to continue this program that you started. I know you're looking on at what's happening, and every day, every week, you're shaking your head at all the missteps and the wastage of money. But we're a positive group. So, what can you share with us about infrastructure to get us going for tonight's program?
All right. Good night, Beverly, Nigel, Dillon, Barbies, viewers, Region 6, Region 5, and wherever we're seeing. Look, we have to lay the foundation of where we are at. You know what I mean? That the country and the government of Guyana and the people of Guyana has been blessed with the most money that they have ever had in such a short period in time. You know what I mean? It took, I saw an article this morning or yesterday that it took us the from 1966 to now 56 odd years, 57 odd years to be able to get a budget of 1.1 trillion Guyana dollars. And that's what we have now. Unfortunately, if you don't have a plan, you will just end up having spending money without any sort of system. And that is what we have decided and when we're committed to do. I mean, we have a plan, you must be able to progress it. So when we start off with roads, you mean that we have to prioritize it, roads to be done. You know what I mean? We're not going to do any roads that concussion roads and those things like that. You mean, they're all nice linkages, but if we do them well, the East Bank Road, the road to Barbies and Quarantine, that the Quarantine Road Highway, that was budgeted since 2022, 3 years now, and it hasn't been finished. But what we have to do is obviously take a step back, take a breather, plan it out so that we have interconnectivity. And when I say interconnectivity, we have to connect all our three counties together. We have enough money to do those things now, you know what I mean? So that someone can drive smooth, seamlessly between our countries. We have to think about transportation. It's with the amount of money you have, there's no way that the senior citizens should be in a minibus, being abused with the music and those things like that. And I mean, and taking their own life. Free transportation for elderlies and school children. You know what I mean? A regular bus service. We have to start thinking about light rails, and we have enough money to do all these things. I mean, we have to. The Barbies Bridge. I mean, it's been a plague. It's been a problem. I mean, they're speaking about building a new bridge. Where? No one knows. I mean, it's all just wake up in the morning and you will do it. So we have to take a step back, and it doesn't take long. I mean, there's enough money. You take a step back and you decide, listen, maybe we're going to do these deep water harbors. I mean, we have to do all those things. We have to complete the road from Linden to Lethem. We started that project 5 years now is not even 50% complete. I mean, the amount of things that has to be done that we know that have to be done, but they obviously we have made a commitment and we set out that we would like to have a orbital road whereby I mean we have a space, so we'd have a road circling all the three count the Barbies all the way to Rosenau, coming all the way back down to Charity, so that you can drive seamlessly there. You know what I mean? Yeah, and people say, "Oh, how you can do that?" It's simple. You can bridge the Demerara Bridge River again. Oh, I mean, at the top end by Sand Hills, then you go down all the way down to Monkey Monk. Was it Monkey? The name slips me. Goshen,
Ocean.
and those areas. There you come back, and yes, and you get back Nigel there because he knows the monkey jump. I think it's the name of the area. And it's all the land is there, the money is there, the vision is there. You can't do it all one time, but you have to prioritize, and you do it piece by piece. And then I'll come back to electricity, I mean, which is my which is my the bane of the not only my own but the rest of the country going forward.
Thanks, David. I'd also want you to address the Demerara Harbor Bridge because I see there is some planned to do for tomorrow, some big celebration of some section being completed. So we're going to talk a bit more about the Demerara Harbor Bridge and the delays and the costs and what have you. But I'm going to ask my leader, Nigel, to hold a bit and let me bring in the young people, Dylan, as a young person, how enthused are you to see the AFC back in government? David Patterson, Nigel, just driving development, doing what we started in 2015, 2020.
Right, of course. First of all, good evening, everyone, to all our viewers, all our listeners. First of all, this is definitely what I am looking forward to. I personally worked under David's ministry, and I always talk about it from from 2015. And we had one of the best, if not the best, ministry during that tenure. And a lot of the development, I was in civil aviation at the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority. A lot of the work that was done, a lot of the improvements to the system, a lot of the development that took place, thanks to David and his team, that is what we're looking forward to having again in our public infrastructure system. And we've seen how that has been in a lot of ways undone and, peeled back from 2020 to now, unfortunately. So, of course, as a young person who's been in the system and who's worked in the ministry, definitely looking forward to having David back as Minister of Public Infrastructure. Definitely.
Great, lovely. Me too. I'm also looking forward. Let me bring in Nigel here. Nigel, I see Delon with his "Better Must Come" jersey on, and I know that's a slogan that you basically started, "Better Must Come." And I know one of the things that you were really upset about is this Schoonard Road and generally the wastage of tax dollars on projects that are done, redone, redone, that sort of thing. How do you plan as the president of Guyana to stamp out that sort of wastage?
Okay, actually, Beverly, first of all, thank you for hosting tonight. Hi, Dylan. Hi, David. Okay, that question really especially in public infrastructure, should go to David. But I will say this: in every area of our development, there will be very robust systems for investigating and prosecuting people who are responsible for corruption and wastage. It is just mandatory, and it's not just in public infrastructure. It's in the police. One of the things that we will establish for the police is an independent, civilian-led police oversight committee, commission, whatever you call it, with full powers. Because we have to have a country where people are accountable for their actions. Have to. They're just you pick the Schooner Highway, just one sector of that highway, which is no different from any other sector. This is not a highway that goes up a mountain and therefore the sector that goes up the mountain requires more resources. In that example, just one sector, $600 million more than the engineer's estimate was given to the contracting company. You understand what $600 million can do to change the lives of several people in the country, particularly in education? $600 million is 3 million US dollars. And that's just for one sector. And the difficulty is they say no, that with the corruption, but 40% is going into either corruption or wastage. So if a project costs $100 million, $40 million out of that between corruption and wastage. Think of the amount of projects that we could do if we just cut out that corruption. I am excited about this period because, like David said, for the first time we actually have the financial resources. And the most important thing about financial resources is you got to plan. And you can't plan for 5 years. You got to have a long-term plan for the country. Otherwise, you can start a project here, it run out, it no longer makes sense. You don't want a set of projects that make no sense, white elephant projects. And we have a country where people almost live in isolation. You can't drive from here to Kaituma. You can't get from here to Mabaruma unless you either fly in an expensive plane or spend 18 hours on a boat through a very rough ride. We should have the entire country networked. One of the big concerns I have is kids. 90% of the children in Ghana never see Kaichur. It costs $200 and something to see Kaichur. Yeah. Similar number would never get to Lethem if they're going to fly there is 400 US plus return. So we have to make sure that our people know our country, learn our country, understand what Guyana is. The first time I actually went into the interior of Ghana and saw the mountains is when I came back as a student. Never went there. Sorry, I came back after I qualified. Never went there. So it's an exciting time, but I want people to also understand that what they're seeing now and call development is a natural, basic requirement. Roads. It's the responsibility of governments to build roads. There's no privilege in building roads. If you're in government, you got to improve the lives of people. That's why you get elected. You get elected because you want to do it. So when you say to people, oh, we put down the Heroes Highway. The Heroes Highway was planned since 1976, that location. Yep. Burnham had it, and it was running right next to Shopping Plaza, if you remember from the old days.
Yes.
It went there, and it wasn't, Burnham wasn't the first person. Way back when, I think the Germans had done a study about how Georgetown and Guyana was going to develop. These are the fundamentals don't change. The basic things don't change. So when somebody comes and say they built a highway in 2025, and you must celebrate the fact that you built a highway, that is really like saying to somebody, we open a school. That's basic. Why are we celebrating opening schools? That's a basic. What we should be concerned about is that 20% of our children are in extreme food poverty. That means 1 in 5 of every child who goes to school is not getting the basic food requirements to keep them going. And if we want to become world class, we have to make sure not only do we lift everybody out of poverty, but we give them world-class education, world-class facilities. And I think because for so long we have lived either isolated or in extreme poverty, the most basic thing that you give to us, we think it's a gift. And this thing where the political class have to come and say, oh, do you have to thank us because we want to build a bridge over the Demerara River? Let me just talk to you about the bridge over the Demerara River. The real thing about the bridge over the Demerara River is when Burnham built it back in 76 or 78, because that's when it cracked open the entire West Bank and West Coast. And all the data, even if you weren't gathering data, will say to you, the next step from a harbor, from a floating bridge, is a fixed
It's
span
an
bridge.
extent. Yeah.
Eh, that's not genius. That is so
Natural stuff, right?
that's a natural plan. Secondly, everybody we know from the harbor bridge that when you put it down, you can only access the upper Demerara River whenever the bridge is open, which is twice a day. So why would you then go and build another floating bridge at the mouth of the Berbice River, which means you shut down the access to the river?
The
Forget
whole.
whether we
Yeah.
found out or not. What you want
Mm.
is you want to see what the data says, where's the best place to put it down, and you will see the development that comes as a result. But where the Berbice Bridge is, you don't see any great development coming as a result of it. You don't have, it's not as if the whole of the Berbice quarantine coast suddenly blossomed the way that the West Bank has blossomed and the way that the West Coast particularly has blossomed. It hasn't happened. And a lot of that is a function of where you put it. And so we have to stop celebrating poor decisions. We just got to stop doing that. But I mean, I could go on and on. But I am excited about the time because several things are happening now. People are saying, "Oh, we saw the progress. We've seen new roads, the Heroes Highway. You know, we got to go and spend the same amount of money to repair it in 2 years."
Yep.
Again, yep. Mm-hmm.
The Linden Highway was finished 67, 68. And that served us well. No bumps, anything until must be 2008, 2010. Started to get wavy. That's beyond the normal life. So even if you said conservatively, the Heroes Highway was supposed to last 15 years, which would be low. But let's give you 15 years. How in 2 years it break down? And then just think of where we are as a citizen. The government has the audacity to come and say to you, we're going to resurface it. Big cheers when you're going to spend the same amount of money that you spent
Exactly.
on a 50-year road in less than.
Exactly.
I mean, how do you begin to even fathom that somebody could actually say that and expect you to accept it? We really are in a time warp. But sorry, that's my initial response to your
Thank you, Nigel. I want to bring back in David there on this Demerara Harbor Bridge. Yes, David, tomorrow night they are celebrating the completion of the final bridge tower. You know, Nigel just talk about celebration, and here it is. I mean,
Well,
the final bridge tower is complete.
let me
Let's
break it.
celebrate.
Let me break it down for the folks. So you know what I mean. And a lot of people looking at these programs may feel that we are not happy for development. We are. Anything that progresses this country progresses this entire everyone in the country. All this is what we do complain about is the wastage, the poor planning, the idea of, as Nigel said, so when you do your job, you must be put on a pedestal and those things like that. So it's a suspension bridge. And what happens is that, I mean, obviously it is going up here. They can't finish it. We told them so that you will never be able to finish it. Whenever the bridge is finished, the roads to it will not be finished. They have not started and completed a single project of work correctly. Not a single one. I just mentioned Heroes Highway, which they'll take a drone shot from a mile up in the air at night, so it looks so you don't see the bumps, and that's what they'll use on their brochures. So the bridge can't finish. So the tallest column, the 4 tall columns, they've finished casting it. So they'll have a celebration saying it out, we finished casting the bridge. It's not a finishing the bridge, you know. You can't use the bridge. Even when the bridge is finished, you probably have another 6 months or a year because there's no roads leading to the bridge. You know what I mean? This bridge is supposed to be finished, and I want our viewers to know that Edgel got up and set out a drop dead date, which means that if you live one day after that date, on that date is August the 31st, that it will be finished. But we know it won't be finished, and what they're celebrating? The casting of the last column. The last column. I mean, this bridge is supposed to be finished since May of last year. So that's what we're talking about, and that's we've spoken about planning. not just opening projects. I mean, you will hear the Ministry of Education saying to us, we're going to build new schools, hundreds of new schools. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But teachers, I mean, Nigeria will probably go to, you haven't increased the stock of teachers. You haven't increased the welfare of teachers. You're hearing how you're building all of these roads. Local contractors. How many local contractors that we have empowered in such a way that they can do these jobs on their own? Why, after all this money, you know what I mean? Because of course you're gonna have the Chinese. The Chinese are world class builders. They have a lot of experience in those things. You have to couple them by law with a local contractor. So that for the next bridge you build over Quarantine River, the local guy can do it himself. He has all the equipment. He has all the things. They do nothing at all like that because obviously there's a big C, corruption. You know what I mean? You know the suit type persons in these contracts. And ladies and gentlemen, this is no figment of my imagination. I was there. In all of these contracts, there's something called concession fees, which are fees that are built into them for establishment of the company and those things. That in countries like Guyana, the fees are 4 to 5%. That money built into those contracts by the Chinese goes to the public officials. So they like it. So right up front, soon they sign a contract. There's 4 or 5% of 4 or 5% of 200 million US dollars. You can calculate how much it is. So they have no interest in building up our local capacity other than, you know, I mean, to keep you where you are. So therefore, we will continue always to have contractors coming in. They have no capacity to build up anything. I mean, Dylan is there was there at CGIA, the air traffic controllers. He can tell you when they start, we had to make a concerted effort. When they started, there were guys doing double and triple shifts because there's
Yep.
so persons there. They don't do that. They have no vision whatsoever to build our people. And that's my problem, you know what I mean? So you will see a lot of photos tomorrow, and they'll most likely, you know what I mean, you see the president there, he probably have on a hat and those things like that, and you see Edge. But that's all just like we've got smoke and whistles. I mean, they're just doing it there to make you feel as though something is accomplished. A year ago, 2 years ago, on this same program, I made a bold statement that the PPP will be going to elections with just billboards. I made that statement and persons from Region 6 will remember that they will accomplish absolutely nothing. And of course, their usual people that came and they attacked us and those things like that. The proof is in the pudding. And ladies and gentlemen, you can't allow these persons to stay another 5 years with the mismanagement and the corruption in which they've done it here, you know, they've done before.
And the squandering of the public purse.
Beth, I just
Hi,
wanted to
Nigel.
imagine you building a house and you're celebrating putting up the final concrete post.
That's it.
You put on the roof, you put in the doors, it ain't got the plumbing, it ain't got the lights. You bring the whole family together to celebrate, you put up the final post. That's what's going on tomorrow. I mean,
And you can't even go in the house.
Yeah, you can't go in the house, you can't invite anybody else, but that's a contempt in which you have us, man.
and then you're making a big noise about it. Your big story, we got to open it.
Yes. Guys, if we can shift, David just touched on it, and I want to get into that area, education. You know, at the Alliance for Change, we recognize that sustainable development of our country must be built on a sound education system. We cannot have sustainable development unless we fix education from primary right through to university, the academics, the technical and vocational training. It has to be fixed. It has to be fixed for the needs of the country now and the needs of the country in the future as the country grow, as the country develops, as our economy diversify. And so let us talk a bit on the AFC plans as a government, what we will be doing for education.
Bev, let me start off by saying the AFC's position that the most important element for development of the country is the people. Not how many buildings and schools and so we put up, the people. Two, we will have oil as the major economic driver. That's a fancy word. Oil is the major industry for this country for the next 15 to 20 years. Right now, 1 in 2 students who go into secondary school are not finishing. I just want to, there's an official statistic, so everybody should learn. And I think the people in Region 5 and 6 see that they're not finishing secondary school. And we're not doing anything for them. Nothing. When they finish, they're left on their own. If they don't have certificates, they can't get better jobs. Yeah. So a lot of them go hustle or they take the lower jobs. We're saying there's a crisis. If you're losing half your students who go into secondary school, we have to give them a second chance. And what we're doing is we're setting up the National Skills Academy. It will give you 9 months training in relevant jobs, logistics, scaffolding, everything for the oil and gas economy. While you're there for the 9 months, we will pay you because we know you got a family to run and to support. Once you get certified, you will be qualified to go into those industries that support the oil industry or support the construction industry, whether you in logistics, you are qualified. But we say, look, we understand you can either go and get a job or you can start your own business. And either way, we will give you those starting tools. So if you get qualified in scaffolding, for example, which is very important to the oil industry, there's the scaffolds they got to put up outside the vessels, and they got to clear and clean and all of that. We will give you the startup equipment so that you can go and start your business, or at least you have your tools. So you're employed. When you go to get employed, you got a head start. And we know that not everybody is business inclined. So if you're going to start your own business, we can give you the financial support. The state is going to pay high-class financial experts to help you design a business plan and then help you monitor whether the business going the way it should be. And that is what the National Skills Academy is going to do. It's like a voluntary contemporary national service, a modern day national service, but it's not mandatory. Now, all those people who fell through the cracks or may not be academically inclined get this opportunity. The AFC's position is that we can train you to fish and we can give you the fishing rod. And we can actually hold your hand when you're throwing the first whatever you call it. Right, the line. Mm-hmm. And after that, you're gonna make it. Because everybody got to be part of this wealth and to enjoy this benefit to the state. It's not the state handing you a check. It's the state giving you the opportunity to be able to start your own business or get a job so that you could begin to participate. If you can't make it in the oil economy, if you're not qualified, you ain't got a chance. And the problem is that oil industry requires people to work, not people to work, but they got to work 24/7, 365 days a year. So what happens is that if the Guyanese don't get qualified, the foreigners have to come in to run it. Yeah. And if the foreigners coming in to run it, it means the foreigners making money where Guyanese could have been making money.
Yep.
And we got a problem. And you're doing this when we don't even have an immigration problem that says Guyanese first. We got, 100,000 Venezuelans, according to the Foreign Secretary.
Foreign Secretary.
This has to be organized because you don't run a modern country just on some minister having a discretion. That's the last thing you want. We got to put the structures in place. I don't want to talk about oil and gas, but David is going to talk about it. But one of the basic things about oil and gas is a petroleum commission. Absolutely basic, necessary. You have to have the institutions. And what we say, and this is not just for education, I'm going to come back to education in a minute, is that you got to have a body, a government body that takes all that data, processes it, and has a plan for 10, 15 years. And we're saying to the PPP, the PNC, and all the political parties, let's get together and agree a 10 to 15-year plan in 5 key areas: education, economy, poverty reduction. We got to deal with the borders, right? And health. Don't let's make this political. Let's have a 15-year plan. We sign off the broad parameters. Because every time we have elections, we can't change
Start over.
And I give you a really sad, sad case. David, myself, and Kathy were just in Quibana for Valerie's funeral. During Valerie's lifetime, Valerie fought to get, I think it's a cassava factory.
Cassava mill.
A cassava mill in
Yeah,
Quibana.
cassava mill, yes.
The mill is set up, state-of-the-art equipment there, 95% complete under the previous administration. The day they come out of office, the project shut down completely. 95% completed. And let me tell you, when you go to Quibana, the poverty is in your face. Absolutely. Getting to Quibana, long before you even go there, getting to Quibana, the road is a nightmare for 4x4s. And we went in a car, so you can imagine how bad it is. Imagine how much money they got to spend to maintain that car. But when you get there, this project that was 95% finished, that was for the benefit of the people in Quibana, stopped because the government changed. Now, we can't afford that. Now, if that was part of our 10 to 15-year plan, or the PPP's 10 to 15-year plan we had signed off on, it wouldn't stop because the government changed. It would continue. And that kind of thinking is what we have to change. Come back briefly to education. This food poverty thing. 1 in 5 of our children ain't getting the nutrients. Extreme. 2 in 5 food poor, not getting the nutrients. You know that the ability of a hungry child to learn is limited. You can't be hungry and absorbing new concepts. It just don't happen. I can't put it more basic than that. So the most fundamental thing we can talk about before we talk about big fancy plans and development and infrastructure is we kind of make sure our children are not hungry when they're being taught. That's the first thing. To be able to absorb, they got to be taught. Now, what that means is the children who are rich and can afford to go to private schools will always be way ahead. And if your child doesn't get enough food and can't learn, you are virtually condemned to second-class citizenship. That's why for the Alliance for Change, we got to make sure we feed our children and we educate them to the highest possible level. I just want to go there. There are many other things we can talk about. I mean, in terms of secondary school, the results, one of the things I would say for sure for now, so people are not mistaken, is that we are going to concentrate on depth and not breadth. We're not going to be spending resources on children doing 24 subjects. If you're not stopping you from doing it, you could do it. But we're focusing on giving you more depth in the core subjects that are relevant to the development of this country. So subjects that lead to the engineering, to all the developmental. We're not encouraging children to do 24 subjects. You realize that Ghana is the only country in the Caribbean that has students sitting 24 subjects. That's why they top, because nobody else has their children doing that. Because education is not just going to school at 6 a.m. and lessons at 6, going to school at 8, and then lessons again at 3 in the afternoon till 6. You have to have a rounded education to be remotely capable of competing in this modern world, especially with artificial intelligence. That's where we're going. So that
on that point of artificial intelligence, let me bring in the youngest member here on our panel, Dylan. I see artificial intelligence.
Are you saying Dylan is artificially intelligent?
As the driver of development, you know.
Oh my.
I mean, like David, Nigel, we have been a merchant society. We import goods, we sell it back. Technology now on the whole is driving economies. Artificial intelligence is changing the way we do things, the way the world do things. Dylan, how far back are we? Let's
We're
start
very
here.
far back. We're very far back. One of the things, one of the primary examples I can use right away is what was done to the police force very early on in this administration when all of the digitized records were destroyed. That was like 10 steps back, you know. Um, but we're very far back and a lot of it is attributed to the systematic breakdown that has been taking place. Not Nigel touched a lot on human resource, investing into our human resource more than just the physical infrastructure. And if we're not building our human resource, then we cannot put the systems in place to facilitate the improvement of our systems, to facilitate the implementation of upgraded systems, the implementation of new technologies. You know, because when you have new and upgraded systems, a lot of people have the concern that AI is going to replace, you know, the human resource. It's not. It's absolutely not, because when you develop new technology and when you implement new systems, you still have to have you know, the human resource to operate maybe in a different way, right? A good example I can use from civil aviation is the implementation of ADS-B, which is one of the most modern types of radar technology in air traffic control. We were the first Caribbean country to implement it. And I see David is
Get a thumbs up.
well, of course. And we used to actually make fun of Trinidad for that, but you know, because they had radar for years, we didn't have it, and then you know we got the ADS-B in 2015, right? So when we got the ADS-B, when it was implemented, we now had to train air traffic controllers on how to use ADS-B. We had to train training officers on how to teach, you know, air traffic controllers in ADS-B, and so on. So there is still the absolutely important human factor involved in AI. So we are very far behind, and we definitely need to, all of what Nigel is saying about our education system, we need to have it implemented in order for us to be able to facilitate this new wave of technology coming into our society.
Bev,
Great, I agree.
if I could just add,
Yeah.
people have AI is a tool.
Right.
Not-
Yeah.
it's a
Yes.
tool.
It's
And people have to understand it's a tool. It's just like how
it's just a
back
tool,
in the day
right?
when David and I in school, you had a geometry set, and
Right.
you'd measure the angles and do your thing. It's a tool. Don't be afraid that it's going to
Afraid
take
of it,
jobs. What you have to
Right.
learn is how to
How
use
to use
the
it.
tool.
Right.
It's not coming to replace anything. The reality
Right.
is all technologies change, and therefore the focus has to change. You
Right.
know, we went to school. I remember when we started to go into secondary school, calculator was a big thing. Texas Instruments, calculators.
Yeah, yeah, TI calculator,
A TI
scientific calculator.
calculator. Remember that? Look where we
Yeah,
are now. The
scientific.
cell phone has more power than the computers that put Apollo on the moon. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
we have to understand that, and particularly how rapidly the change is taking. We just have to master the tools.
Right.
They're impressive, but we have to master them. And if our young people don't even get educated to the level where they can begin to use AI as a tool, then technically the country is behind, because
Right.
we're losing all our bright people who coming out to UG. We're losing them at the rate of, let's say, conservatively 75%. Those are the people we need to manage to run the country, and they don't have to work with the government. If they are in the country in the private sector, the country is benefiting from them. If they're making, and I hope they are successful, I hope they make millions of dollars in their businesses. That's what we hope to do. You want the next generation to be there. We just saying don't do it corruptly, but we need them. We can't run a country if our best and brightest don't feel comfortable enough to stay here. Bottom line.
Nigel, you're
Definitely.
talking about our best and brightest staying here.
Not even
And
best and
I,
brightest. Our students.
yeah, I'm putting to you guys that one of the failures of the education system is because we have failed to attract the best and brightest. David, you want to come in here?
Well. I was going to the other extreme. I mean, I was going to not our best and brightest. I was just going to our workers, and I wanted our viewers to. I want to tell our viewers a real situation here, not our best and brightest. Some of the guys and girls that are here right now. The Minister of Home Affairs has said it out that he has issued. Let me look. 12,300 work permits for
Oh,
persons to
yes.
come in for truck drivers.
Oh,
I
Mm,
want you to listen to that
mm,
because they said
mm,
that there's not
mm,
enough
mm,
truck drivers.
mhm,
Now, the same government has about 10,000 or 15,000 part-time workers, 10-day workers.
mhm.
Now, I want to mean, and I'm sure of those 10 or 15,000 part-time, 1,200 of them already have a driver's license. So instead of having them do small menial works for 10 days, you could have had them in a training school, paying them the same
Yeah.
$40,000. End of what, 6 months, 9 months, they're certified truck drivers, whatever the period is, they're getting the same $40,000. And these truck drivers, and I made a note of it when the thing is, so they're earning about $300,000 because a month. So we can just with this, without no great investment other than a few trucks to train them on and a few instructors to train them on, the exact same people that we have here, and then you start to encourage the our other persons local content. Up in Linden, you saw that recently, about 2 weeks ago, the Lindeners blocked off the road because it said so that the foreign workers, the foreign companies are bringing in their drivers and then squeezing out the local truck drivers. Capacity building. Say only Guyanese truck drivers, only Guyanese owned trucking companies can move it. And we will fill the void. You know what I mean?
Right.
So there are so many things that we can do. In Turkey, met very casually in Nigeria and Dylan Beverly. I met a Turkish guy at lunch from two guys actually, and they were telling me how much they love this country and how much different it is from their country. And when we got down to it, they said that for a foreigner, like if I, David Patterson, goes to Turkey to get a work permit to work in Turkey, I will get it. But a company that is bringing me has to lodge a bond of 25,000 US or euros or whatever the currency is. And I can only stay there for 2 years because that's the period of time they give the company to train someone else to take my job.
Position,
Here,
right. Mm,
yeah, so here you could come and you sit down, you get naturalized. I mean, we want people, but not only our breast and brightest are going, our able-bodied persons are being kept down, and that's
mhm.
those are the things
Yeah.
we have to do with the able-bodied and simple, but they do that because, as Nigel said to me, they don't want you to be independent. Because if you're independent, you're no longer a 10-day worker. You are now charting your own course. You don't have to listen to any REO or any regional chairman shout at you and tell you how you have to go to put on a red jersey and go and sit down and hear somebody speak total irrelevant nonsensical. They want to keep you there so that they can control you. And if you don't turn up to one of their rallies in their red jerseys, they mark your name, you don't get the 10-day work. But we could have been using the same principle, same system, 40,000 a month, 10 days, and the 10 days you send you to a truck driving school. In 9 months, 2,000 of our Guyanese or more would have been qualified, certified, and they could even go abroad with it. But they won't do that. They want to keep you there, keep our people down all the time, purely for selfish reasons, so they could
Mm,
practice that what we fought so hard to come to get out of that sort of plantocracy, mentality where the boss and the cracks the whip and the workers have to work. I wanted to make that point because I feel strongly about it. That's
Neocolonization.
something we have to address. We
Right.
have to address.
On that point, David, the government is in the process of distributing the schools cash grant, and a lot of persons have taken to social media and they are complaining. To collect this, I think it's about $55,000 per child. They have to sit there and hear a minister drone on and on for about an hour or more just because they want to collect that money for their child. And one of the things the government has been saying is that if the AFC should get into government, we will discontinue that cash grant system. So, Nigel, I think I'm going to
Let me
come to
jump in.
you. You want to.
Let me jump in first and foremost. You know what I mean? We want to modernize our country. Modernize our country. Cash grants, lovely, help out persons. But if you have a bank account, you stay and you enter in your school, your child in first form. And the day you enroll in first form, you write down your bank account information. And every time that is eligible, at whatever date, we will wire it to you. So you don't have to come and listen to me in Nigeria there and take selfies and things that we will. So therefore, it's seamless. Whatever we're going to be distributing, and we are in favor of cash grants. Nigel Hughes is the man that came up with, when he was elected, who insisted that we must have cash transfers to our citizens. The PPP, Jack Deo and Ali said it will cause inflation and those things like that, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
Within, what was it, 4 or 5 months? They changed, 4 or 5, July, it started in December, right? So these monies, and ladies and gentlemen, please listen to me. The money that you're getting does not belong to the PPP. It's your money. We earn it from from oil and gas. We earn it from gold, from our taxes, whatever it is. These people, right? They're not doing you a favor. All they're doing is that Nigeria has the same thing to do, that nice scenario where somebody comes in your house and steals your TV and then holds a garden sale at the corner, and you go back and buy it and you must feel grateful. This is money. So all of these systems implement and make it better, and we won't strip you of your dignity to collect your own money.
All right.
That's the point I wanted to make, Beverly, is the indignity and the degrading treatment that when you got to collect this money for your child, they got to tell you that, first of all, you must be grateful because you're getting the money, and then scare you into believing that nobody else would give you this, when this is an entitlement that you have. What I will guarantee you, that is nothing the Alliance for Change will ever do, at least under my watch, that will assault your integrity. You are entitled to this. We are not going to celebrate you getting what you're entitled to. No political party has created the largest of Guyana, none. And in the case of oil, it's been there. Nobody put it there.
Yes, since prehistoric times.
Exactly, prehistoric times. So this is not the case with the PPP or the AFC or the PNC. It is ours. We have a superior way for creating wealth and developing our people. And that's what it's about. Mm-hmm. And we're not going to we're not going to ask you to tell us thanks. We are not going to put up, I don't believe, under any project when David was there. You saw a big signpost outside saying, this is a government of Guyana project given to the people. No, development is a natural thing. And with the wealth we have, we don't have to be forcing this thing down your throat. That's your right. Let's go to the next level.
Thank you. Dylan, you were coming in there just now?
Yes. I also wanted to add, not just assaulting our integrity, but also assaulting our humanity. And I see this as a trend across institutions. Even one of my former colleagues was comparing, the management of civil aviation under the two governments. In one instance, in our time, management would come to listen to you. And then in the new dispensation, the current dispensation, management would come to talk to you, you know,
Yeah.
and to gaslight you almost like an abusive partner, in a relationship, to gaslight you, to tell you that, I'm the only person that can give you, all that you're getting, and your life depends on me, that kind of gaslighting, and the kind that keeps persons in abusive relationships and so on. Um, I also heard of accounts. I can compare this to accounts I've heard of what used to happen on slave plantations. Where when when you're done doing all your work and it's time to collect your food or whatever else you're getting, the master would talk to everybody, bring everybody together, and you have this big talk, and the master would remind you that your life depends on him.
Yeah.
So it is actually modern day slavery that we're experiencing, on a new level, and that is what we want Guyanese people to realize, that what, this is what you are entitled to. This is what you earn as a citizen, as a working citizen, as a tax-paying citizen. This is not somebody who is taking care of you. This is not somebody who is giving you something that they just decided to give you, as a gift, right?
I think it comes down
Beverly,
to the obligation of government and
Right,
understanding the
right,
Service.
obligation
Service.
of government to the
you,
people.
Service.
right.
Beverly, what pains me, and I was last week, it did, it had again, old age pension.
Mm,
The
mm,
inhumanity of the people whose shoulders we stand on and we are here today. I mean, the inhumanity, you have these people lined up 5, 4, 5 in the morning. You know what I mean? It's come on. I mean, we they deserve better. I mean, the sacrifices that they would have made to make life better for us. You know what I mean?
right,
Some of the, I mean, and there is, and it's, and then there's a big celebration when you, I think it's, I don't know what it is now, 41,000 or something like that. Is there for sure, ladies and gentlemen? The lives will change party when we get there. We're gonna give you a great workable increase. So therefore, you know what I mean. But we make the
mm,
system better. You know what I mean. We make you proud. You know what I mean, to be elder citizen in this country. We will honor and respect you for the contributions you have made, because there's nothing we can do. That money, the money that we give, that the country will be giving to you, can't quarter or 1/8 compensate to the sacrifices you would have made to make people like me, Nigel, Dylan, and you mean educated. You know,
Yep.
Yeah,
mhm,
you
And
got
mhm,
the other
yep,
thing, Beverly, is they made that sacrifice when things were hard in Guyana.
really
Hard,
hard.
mhm, yep, yep,
hard. I mean,
Yeah,
real. I mean, especially the civil servants in the era. Oh, it was rough.
riding a bicycle to go
Yeah,
teach
yeah.
children, rain or sun, our
studying
senior citizens
flambeau
really
and
makes that.
these
Yeah,
and so it really like pains me, and but you know, I mean, it's not much that we do it. And then of course celebrating, repaying you, these our citizens, for the hardship that they done, and make it feel as though the government is being nice and loving towards you.
Granting you a
No,
favor.
ladies and gentlemen, you deserve every cent and much more than is
mhm.
being given to you today.
David, we cannot come off this topic without saying to people how much Guyana is getting from just oil alone.
Of
Right. Well,
course.
so very quickly, we have this thing. Ladies and gentlemen, we are making 650,000 barrels of oil every day. That's at 365 days a year or 366. And a barrel of oil now is about $80, which means that every single day we are making about $1.8 billion. Broken down, but 70 every hour, the hour that we spent here, without us having to do anything. We didn't have to set, we have made as a country 70 million Guyana dollars. That's it. Just this hour that you spent
An
with us,
hour.
we spent with you, an hour. So you think about all the projects that we want to do. I mean, all the projects that I wanted to do. The largest budget for infrastructure for roads while I was there, right, was $3.8 billion dollars for roads only. You know what I mean? That's 2 days. 2 days.
Wow.
And that's all we did, you mean? So there's only 2 days worth of oil. Imagine if I was able to get my access to a whole week, 7 days. You know what I mean? These guys have all the money and they're just squandering it and they're making us feel as though we should be obligated to them.
Unfortunately, we are running out of time. We have just about 3 minutes. We didn't get to touch your pet peeve, electricity. But we're going to leave that for
I'm just
another
grateful that we
program.
were able to go through a program without blackout. And I know every single one. Right? So I know
So
every
I'm
viewer
going
here is
to,
they're grateful for that small mercy. I say thank you.
and I'm going to go to Nigel to close off. If you can quickly, Nigel, within 3 minutes or so, take us quickly through some of the other areas that the Alliance for
Okay.
Change will be focusing on
I
and
want to say this, Bev.
subs.
I believe in democratic leadership. We this leader thing and thing. No. I would
I
ask
get
you. I am a reluctant leader in that sense. If you could split it up, what I will say briefly in my 50 seconds to the left, we believe that we have a new, exciting future that Guyana has never had before. Everybody has a right, and we will make sure everybody gets a part of this benefit. People, as soon as they turn 18, must get house lots and part of the country, and not some little 5,000 square foot house lot. We will build out new cities that are planned. You know how Georgetown is well planned, and it was planned 2 centuries ago? It's laid out in a grid system. We must elevate that and build new cities in the interior, new cities and new ports, whether we go northwest and the Pomeroon. That's what we're talking about. That is where the AFC is. It's not just building some new roads in the coast and the existing. We are building new cities which will be planned for the next 20 years. So they will have state-of-the-art AI. They will have state-of-the-art transportation. You probably wouldn't even need to drive in a new city that we design. When David sets up that team, you don't have to worry about whether you could afford some 2 million, 3 million, $4 or $5 million car. The public transportation system will be world class for you to get up from your home, probably less than 5 minutes, get to the place of transportation and get to wherever you were working. And it will be modern. We will build state-of-the-art ports. So when we set up that road from Brazil to Georgetown or not Georgetown, wherever we put that port, and it will be done on the data, it will be done completely efficiency. So just envision, not what we have now, envision a modern city where we hire the best city planners from across the planet to build new cities. If you decide we're putting a new city in Pomeroon or on the Pomeroon River, our deepest port, and the most fertile agricultural lands are up there, then it's going to be modern. It's not this half-dead system that we're accustomed to. Just allow your mind to think what's possible. But I want the young people in David, because it's important that everybody. I will guarantee you.
All hands have to be on deck. All hands have to be on deck. If not, somebody else would champion you.
Dylan, exciting times for young people, you think?
Of course, definitely. Definitely. We're looking forward to a new republic. Let's use that term for our young people. Yes.
Yes, guys, we are just at program time. This has been a very interesting discussion. There is so much more that we have to touch on as the weeks progress and we get closer to September 1 when the nation will elect an Alliance for Change government. And so to you, David, to Nigel, Dylan, and especially our viewers, those of you who have been with us, I want to say thank you to DTV Channel 8, always so accommodating, always so professional. Thank you for having us and hope to join you next week as we continue to share an Alliance for Change plans as we head into government. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Beverly.
Good night.